Hare Krishna. How do we face the polycrisis facing the world today with the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita? Answer: polycrisis refers to a situation where multiple huge problems are converging at the same time, leading to a possible great upheaval or even catastrophe in the future. So today it could refer to global economic destabilization, political confrontations leading to war, climate change, uncontrolled immigration, social polarization among various groups. So multiple problems like these are threatening the future of the world. I'll talk about the Bhagavad Gita's perspective using 3 P's. So first is patience. The Bhagavad Gita explains that this world is a place of distress, dukkhalaya. What it means is not that everybody has to be perpetually condemned to distress, but that distress is an unavoidable reality of life in the world. And to the extent we imagine that we can eradicate distress, or to the extent we believe that we are entitled to a distress-free life in this world, to that extent we actually set ourselves up for far greater distress than what is unavoidable. So the Bhagavad Gita helps us recalibrate our expectations so that they are better aligned with the reality about how the world functions. While distress is an unavoidable reality of the world, the Gita also acknowledges that there are phases when that distress can become excessive. In fact, the Gita itself was spoken at one such time when there is what the Bhagavad Gita calls dharmasya glani, when there is a decline in the order of the world to the point of disruption and even devastation. At that time, there is a divine intervention to bring things back into order and harmony. So such phases are turbulent, but they are not unprecedented. And that's why the Gita, it helps us to understand that even when we are going through difficulties, we don't become too agitated by it. We consider the world is a place of dualities, ups and downs. These will always be there. But if we have too high expectations of how life in the world will be wonderful, then when things go down, our emotions won't just go down proportionately, they will go down disproportionately. And that's why there can be fear, paranoia, panic, and we can have the fight or flight response, which can make things far worse than what they need to be. So there are phases when things do become more difficult than normal. While life is tough, but there are phases when they become tougher. And these are phases in the Gita's vision when sometimes the collective karma of the planet becomes highly negative, and that negative karma starts playing out in terms of the multiple distresses in the world. So at one level, the phase of negative karma is like the time when somebody has been bitten by a leech. Now if the leech is biting a person, it's sucking the blood out of that person's, say, leg. The instinctive reaction on sensing a leech sucking our blood is to want to pull it out. And if we try to pull it out, the leech can sometimes have such a firm grip that it can rip out the entire skin. And the wound in trying to get rid of the leech can be far worse than it would have been if we had just patiently let the leech do its business. And letting the leech do its business means that we let it suck its blood. It does not have unlimited capacity to suck blood. So eventually when the blood has been sucked, its tubules are full, it will itself let go, or we can just flip it and it will fall off. So similarly, the dark phases that seem to be on the horizon in the world's consciousness right now, if they come, rather than going into knee-jerk reactions like violence against others or sometimes violence toward oneself, where sometimes people in fear of end of the world doomsday scenarios can take extreme actions, we understand ultimately there is nothing new under the sky. We have patience. So tams titikshasva bharata, the Bhagavad Gita says in 2:14 in the start, when it talks about how we need to be able to patiently tolerate the turbulences of this world. That's the first point. Don't overreact, be patient. This too shall pass. But we don't have to equate patience with passivity or apathy or lethargy. That brings us second P, that is purpose. The Bhagavad Gita explains that while we function in the world, we are not just meant to live for consuming material things and titillating ourselves with some superficial material pleasures. Our life has a higher purpose. Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. The Bhagavad Gita explains that each one of us is a part of the divine, and each one has a part in a higher plan for the world's restoration to order, for the world's well-being. Loka sangraha, the maintenance of the world, is considered to be not just a collective responsibility but an individual responsibility for every participant in the world, every person in the world. And this is not just a functional activity. The Gita gives us a divine vision for this activity, so that we can actually worship the divine through the work that we do. Why? Because yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvam dam tatam, that everything in this world has come from the divine and everything is pervaded by the divine. So each one of us, based on the situations that we are in, the talents that we have, the resources that we have, we can act in a mood of service, asking ourselves the question, what can I do to make things better? How can I light a candle instead of cursing the darkness? No, just having that intention to make a positive difference, especially if we understand that there is a positive purpose to the world. That understanding can help us not only passively endure the dark phases of life, but we can all actively play a part in accelerating the passage of the dark phase. We can help each other, and the purpose that the Gita tells us, it's not just helping each other, but it's helping each other in a spiritually informed and enlightened way. The Gita explains that our purpose is not just external but also internal. Deep within us, at our core, is an indestructible self, and that exists secure, invulnerable to the torments and turbulences of the external world. To the extent we are situated in our spiritual core, then we can act within from a place of security rather than a place of insecurity. The life's challenges can concern us, but they won't threaten us. So in one sense, when we have the spiritual purpose of contributing externally and connecting internally, then we will find that we can play a much more affirmative role. And the connecting internally is not just with our spiritual core, but also with the divine whole, whose part each one of us is. And that divinity resides within each one of us. And then that brings me to the last part. The last P is purification. That within every human psyche lie dark forces that can not only sabotage that individual's life, but can also make that individual into a person who sabotages others' lives. So the Bhagavad Gita calls these dark forces by the collective name Kama, self-destructive force within us. And it is the responsibility of every one of us to counter this darkness within us. This darkness can manifest in the form of addictive cravings. It can manifest in the form of depressive urges. It can manifest in the form of suicidal ideation. But this dark destructive force within us can be countered through purification. So when we are spiritual beings, around us is this covering of darkness. But if we can connect with the highest spiritual reality through time-tested practices of yoga and meditation, then an inner light is activated within us, jnana deepena bhasvataha, and that light can counter the dark and destructive forces within us. Among the various methodologies available for us to cleanse our heart, the Bhagavad Gita recommends Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of love. Love is the deepest force at the core of the human heart. And the Gita says that this force of love can be used to link us with the source of all love, the all-attractive divine. And when this bond of love is established, then that bond is as if like a force that causes the sun to rise within our heart, and whatever darkness is there gets dissipated. So when we are situated in that experience of divine love through the practice of Bhakti Yoga, then the self-destructive, selfish forces within us can no longer control us. They can't even allure us too strongly. And then truly each one of us can become an agent of good in the world. The Gita is in that sense an eminently individualistic book, not in the sense of obsessive or narcissistic individualism, but in the sense that it calls upon every individual to take responsibility, to be a part of the positive change, to become an agent of divine compassion and wisdom for bringing about a better world, and more importantly, a better heart that can be a better part of a better world, that can be a better agent in ushering in a better world. That indeed is the best way we can deal with the polycrisis threatening the world today. Thank you.